another Bing, and we're live. We have JP, we have Matt, we have Michael, we have Sam. It's the community talk meeting that's restarted. We used to have these weekly, and we are now having them weekly again, particularly after there was a big discussion in the AV community about sustainability. Well, on that note, one thing I'm doing is I'm putting together a proposal for kind of like putting out what we call a tender in the UK to say, like, you know, we need somebody to do like all the things that I do, and then the companies can bid on that project, like, and my company would bid on it, and then potentially I can receive some monthly income from the you know, the various income that we have. In particular, that's arising from the you know, the NHS project has this chunk of money for ongoing moderation and marketing support. I mean, not a lot of money, but when I kind of put that together with the corporate sponsorship and the other inputs and so on, it's like, right, we, you know, there could actually be, like, if I'm going to be doing that work and making sure that all happens, you know, maybe that's something to get me. I mean, there's still really, in order to make it sustainable for me in the long run, we would need to get another, I was working out like a £800 a month income in either sponsorships, memberships, or bring in another similar sized contract to the NHS.
So is that because you can't, as a trustee, are you not allowed to draw a salary as an employee?
Right, indeed. And I mean, also, like, just drawing a salary as an employee is a way to pay.
Probably tax.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of.
It's not as tax beneficial or whatever.
No, I mean, I think it just that ends up. I mean, it also ends up locking you into a certain, you know, salary framework. So, I mean, my plan going forward is never to be as a salaried employee of anywhere ever again, but to be, you know, running things through company. It's like, why would you, you know, I think the big benefit of the salary is that you get this idea of security, right? The company's committing to these things like the pension and the healthcare and this, that, and the other. And anyway, so yeah, it's I think.
Well, we can commit to donuts on Friday. I mean, that's a
there you go.
A large benefit.
You can eat donuts and watch videos of the donuts being eaten, if not necessarily receiving them. Yeah. So but that's the advice I'm receiving, is that's the way to go, and then the trustees can decide, you know, if my company bids on it, is that an appropriate, you know, they're getting reasonable value for money, and assuming that they're happy with it, then that could go forward, and that would move towards some sort of sustainability for me. Yeah, but oh, go on, JP.
Sorry, I'm not following. Can you repeat again, like the schema, or are you thinking creating a company that will work for AV? That's
yeah. I mean, I have a private company that predates AV that I do private projects through, and all of my income for the last, gosh, is it 10 years now? No, like eight years I think ago that I created the company. That's, you know, I'm an employee of my company, and my company does different sorts of things, in different contracts for different people, and I'm having to take on now private contracts again, in order to be, because I basically spent my life savings over the last year to, you know, work on Agile Ventures.
You were just an employee with HPU, right? Like a year or two ago?
No, I had it coming through the company.
Oh, it was contracted.
Yeah, I mean, it was yeah, all the relationships that I've had with different entities, you know, including the Make Academy, HPU, whatever, everybody's been happy to say, yes, we're happy to do it through this company framework. So, you know, that just.
So you weren't trying to get tenure at HPU.
They don't have it, and well, they don't have a tenure track.
They don't have it anyway.
They don't have. They have like a career track, which is something completely different. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a different matter if HPU was, you know, what's the word? Was a university with a tenure track, and, you know, if I wanted to be eligible for a tenure track or something, but that was never particularly on the cards. And they're still in this state now, HPU, of although I think that, you know, there's still a good relationship with the computer science department there. The administration is saying we'll only employ people in Hawaii. So if I was to move to Hawaii, I could, but my kids are all in school here now in the UK. So anyway, I mean, enough about me. I don't know. I guess maybe you were asking for clarification. Yeah. So anyway, so that's you know, I'm hoping to make it so that, some of the funds can go towards feeding my kids, which would probably keep me as generally a bit more relaxed, and so on. I've also got some private contracts coming out that should help with that. But I'd love to. It's a shame in some ways to be having to do these private closed source contracts, because I'd love to just be doing everything out in the open and for Agile Ventures. But what we have moved towards, based on all the previous discussions, is this design sprint for next week, and that's, I think, the main topic. Regina, go on, Matt. Is there any other topics? Regina, go on, Matt.
Related to your last topic is that if you do pay people, would they be paid through the nonprofit, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I would encourage people to do, if we can bring in more contracts and we're going to pay people through AV, is that they would all have their own companies and we would pay them, as contractors. But I mean, partly because I think, at least at the scale that we're at the moment, we can't commit to employees.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's good to know what the plan is.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we move to a different scale, then I think that would be a different conversation, different setup. But certainly, I would encourage people to. Of course, there are different things. They can have their own companies that, depending on which jurisdiction you're living in around the world. You can just be like self-employed. Is another thing that they have here in the UK. I don't know all the different things what it is in the US, but anyway.
Yeah, either you have your own company or your 401. What's it called, Michael?
There's a different IRS form, like 1080 or something, that you file if you're a contractor. And you have to pay both sides of the Social Security tax.
So yeah, it's going to depend. I mean, in the long run, hopefully we'll have pages with advice for people, or we'll see where we get to. Does anybody have anything else that they want to discuss or bring up apart from the design sprint next week?
I just wanted to say, in terms of feeding your kids, I hear that donuts are good for breakfast, and that benefit could definitely help with that. Yeah.
Well, I've put them on a restricted calorie diet because that saves money, and apparently it also boosts their intelligence, and we'll see how that goes.
Also, their longevity, according to studies.
Indeed, on rats. So I'm sure that'll be fine. JP, you wanted to mention anything?
I just wanted to have a question. Can you be a trustee and at the same time being employed?
Or receive? Well, so this is part of the Constitution, and
I'm asking, like, in terms of legally.
Well, so we have very explicitly. It's like the answer is it's about any kind of benefit that you receive as a trustee. So in principle, trustees should not receive any benefits from the organization of which they are a trustee. However, there is a framework for, if a trustee does work for, or, through some mechanism for an organization, then it's up, they can't vote on their own remuneration. So, and this is sort of a standard setup for UK charities. So the way it will go is that we would put out the tender, my company would bid on it, along with other companies. It would then be up to the other trustees. I wouldn't be able to be involved in any meetings in which the decision was made about offering me that tender, or rather offering the company my tender, offering my company the tender. So, this approach is the one that these senior trustees who've got experience with managing the system is the way to go. And there's also, to note with the trustees, there's a maximum term of like 18 months. There's like a natural turnover, and you can't re-become a trustee. And I was not keen to become a trustee because of that potential conflict of interest. I was encouraged by one of our advisors to be the chair of the trustees just for the initial period. So I guess what I'm trying to do here is, it's all in the Constitution. It's entirely, according to the process of law, is work out a system whereby I can kind of get some support before I turn over that trustee role, which I'll be looking to do. So we will be looking for other trustees to come in, and there's kind of, unlike board members in a corporation who can just kind of be on the board forever or whatever, there's kind of, it's built in that they have to turn over every 18 months, and there's an election process and all sort of stuff that will come up. So
they can't ever be on the same trustee board again.
Or there's some I'd have to there's some term
right?
limits. I'd have to check the constitution for the precise of that, but yeah, something to that effect. Go on, JP.
No, that's it. Just to make sure that everything is good and we don't have any conflicts or anything.
Absolutely.
It's more for your safety than AV in general.
Yeah. Yes. Well, cool. I think it's important. You know, I mean, we're also an organization based on transparency, and that's absolutely cool. Okay. So then the design sprint, I created a new design sprint channel, which I think all three of you are in. Actually, I wonder if Zhao's not in there. Yeah, let me add JP in there. And I started putting in some things for next week. Basically, so yeah, Monday to Friday next week. That's the plan, to do this design sprint. And I think the hope is that we can kind of agree on the what we want to achieve with Agile Ventures in the next 1 to 5 years, like where we're going, and try and focus in on, what are the key changes that need to be made, and prototype them quickly and get feedback from users on them within the course of a week. So we've got this, this is from the book on this. I very, very, very strongly recommend reading the entire book before taking part on Monday. That will just make the whole process easy. That's in particular for anybody who is planning to be there for the full design sprint. I think if you're just coming in, as maybe you might do this time next week, JP as an expert or possibly as a tester on the Friday, reading the book, great, but not required. But so Matt, you were thinking of trying to do the whole week to be on the sprint team, is that right?
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
And Michael?
Yeah, I think I'll do it. I just have to. I have the book. I read like the first chapter. I just need to read the rest. It's not that long, right?
No. It's not. It's It's if you sit down and get through it, it's not. I think it's reasonably well written, it's really digestible. We were talking about times before, and I would now struggle to find where we had previously discussed and agreed the time. I guess, did we put it already into the thing that went out?
I think it was 7 a.m.
So 7 a.m. your time.
Yeah,
so 7 a.m. your time. That's 7 a.m. My world time buddy up. Bing bong, bing bong. 7 a.m. your time. It's caught with Gravesend, Cairo, and Moscow. I just lost my cookie thing. You guys are on Eastern Standard. I was just put in Boston or something. Boston.
I think it's noon for you. If you go a little bit up on the notes, on the channel,
yeah, it is.
Notes.
So 7 a.m. is noon for me.
I think so.
Right, and so then that would be until 1 p.m. and that's 6 p.m. for me. Yeah, which will cause some havoc with my kids' activities, but just for 1 week we can maybe manage that. So we're talking about, come on brain, we're in the design sprint thing. So that's we've got this, block 5 full days on the calendar. I guess in principle we will. What is that? Is that 7 hours? We've got from. Oh gosh. So from set 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 hours.
Yeah, 6 hours a day, right?
6 hours. So I think the idea is we would be skipping a long lunch break. We would have like little breaks and just try and get the whole thing into that 6 hours. So I was just going to edit this thing here. So we're talking about Monday to Friday, and so it works out, end up being noon my time, which is 11 a.m. UTC. So it's 11 a.m. UTC to 5 p.m. UTC, for want of some coherent thing. All right. So
my friend that could be an expert, I should tell him 2 p.m. my time, like the second half. It says.
Yeah. So the idea is it's definitely the second half of Monday. Like the idea is on Monday that we come up, we kind of write up what is our big challenge. We go through this series of describing like how we might fail, and then we start making these diagrams about how the different stakeholders get to that great end state that we want them to get to. And so we prepare all that. There's sort of various activities to help us get that sorted out, and then we potentially have these interviews with the experts where we explain to them what we've done so far, and we sort of say, well, this is the mission, these are our things that we might fail on, and this is the potential interaction that we're seeing. Does it make sense to you? Are we missing an important point? And we kind of get external validation on who the people on the sprint team on what they've come up with, if that makes sense. So go on, Michael.
Sounds okay.
Yeah. The idea, if people are going to be kind of in that expert role, the idea is, the way it's run in the face-to-face thing is that we kind of, rather than having them all come in a group and the idea is that you have the people come in separately, you explain to them, they give you feedback, and then it turns over. I guess we will have to see who is available when. Maybe to save time, we should give that presentation like once to 5 experts all in the Hangout, and then get feedback from them. I think there's an idea that if you do 5, let's say it's not a lot, but let's say you do the 3 experts in sequence, is that you would get input from them, pause for 10 minutes, update the map based on things that they've said, and then get input from the next expert, pause, update the map, whatever, and then get input from the next expert. But yeah, so in your time, but so you were saying there 2 p.m. Matt, that's after we finished for that. I would have gone by then if your friend wants.
I guess I meant UTC time.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Well, yes. Well, that's the kind of thing we should work out. I think that might be a little early. Let me bring up the book. But that's so we can do our experts.
Yeah,
go on.
We should schedule them soon because.
Yeah, totally. Because we'll get through absolutely. But so I'm just going through this list in order. We need the information about when in the sequence that comes. But so while I'm bringing up the book there, the key thing is choosing this big challenge. So I just wrote out this one here, which is how to grow Agile Ventures to the next level with sustainable income and helping developers and charities around the world. Does that sound reasonable to people, that that's our big challenge?
Those are the 2 goals, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's we've got
part, at least.
we've got the charity is about, we're trying to serve an educational role to help people learn, and we're also trying to, serve at the same time charities and help other nonprofits with their technical issues. And so these are our 2 goals, kind of like in shorthand from the Constitution. And it's about, we've got lots of people coming into Agile Ventures. We've got a certain amount of money. We are how do we get to the next level where there's twice as many active projects, 4 times as many active developers, and there's income that allows us to start remunerating people so that there is more and more people who are reliably available to support the new incoming charities and developers, right?
Yeah. As part of this, are you supposed to define actual numbers for what that next level is, or do you?
I think we could be. I think we could spend some time on that on Monday if we want. Okay. It's we want the numbers to go up. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's general to go up, but.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that there's then a question of
the double or whatever.
Yeah, or the triple or whatever. We could certainly look at defining, how many like, so how many more premium members, how many more contracts would we need to get to these stages and so on? I think that that's less useful information than working on what's the mechanism whereby we convert, non-paying individuals to premium and non-paying charities to, or other not like governmental organizations to being paying customers, is, unless we can work out a mechanism that helps ease that transfer process, then saying, oh, we need double or we need triple or what have you is kind of irrelevant. Right? JP, you were going to say?
Yeah, the challenge looks good, but I have some problem trying to visualize a way where we can prototype something that will answer this challenge in particular. I think this is our challenge, but it looks like, I don't know, I'm trying to get an image of something that can be prototyped in order to get to answer to this challenge, and I have some problems finding out something.
Yeah, I mean, and I think maybe part of what we will do next week is, from this big challenge, we will slice off a smaller challenge. And we may find that trying to put all those things together, we end up with very complicated maps with too many stakeholders and too much stuff going on. But part of, I think, that how might we fail is about, that's a process that we'll go through. Hopefully, I mean, I'm sure I imagine you're not available for the entire 5 days, but hopefully by the time that you join us on Monday afternoon, if you are interested in joining us then, or Monday second half, we'll have focused down onto something, and you can give us your input about whether you think we're focusing on the right thing, or maybe there was something else we should be focusing on. So your inputs towards the end of that day will be very valuable. Go on, Matt.
I think maybe what he's asking too is, what are we going to be prototyping? Is it a process or is that in the book?
Well, I think that the point is that we shouldn't say is now what it is we're going to be prototyping. I think the sort of, this is one of the things I think that commonly happens. I mean, it was exactly what happened when I did the NHS design sprints recently, is that people come in saying, right, here's solution. And part of the whole idea of the design sprint is to kind of keep an open mind and say, we don't know what the solution is. Let's kind of like, okay, forget about, half of the things that we're this and another. It's like, okay, let's define where we want to be, right? Let's define some of the kinds of ways we might fail getting to that place and get them all there into the mix. Let's now try and work out the interaction between stakeholders that, might get us to that place. I mean, that's the Monday, and then kind of do some sharing that around so that we kind of end up, so like if I've got the checklists here, so that this is the Monday, you can see that the first half of the day, I mean, the times don't quite make sense for us, but, we go through, set the long-term goal, we go through, we list how we might fail. By the way, the videos in that playlist that I posted in kind of cover this as well, if you want to hear it from some more charismatic people than me. So then, the idea is after lunch, we ask the experts. There's then, there's then having kind of defined the goal, and then the ways that we might fail, and a kind of a map of how it works. There's then this process of kind of like, how might we overcome these different things? And then there's this voting process, and then we stick and we vote on that, and we organize it into like different possible solution sets, and then those solution things get added onto the map. And so what we end up with at the end of the first day is this kind of map of like how things could operate, and we have this kind of like, here are these things where there are different sort of interventions, and you can see this last thing that you do at the end of the first day is pick a target. So circle your most important customer and one target moment on the map, right? The team can weigh in, but the decider makes the call. And the idea there is that you're saying, right, that moment when the person's making the decision about, choosing premium membership or choosing to join a hangout or, whatever it is, like, although there will be, several of them, we can say, oh, okay, this is the critical one that we're going to focus on, and we're then going to prototype that this week. So it might be that it ends up being the getting started page, that moment after someone has just signed in, or it's, you know. But I think we in terms of what we prototype, it will be, let's see the map emerge through this kind of the voting process. Let's try and identify where the most important points are for the transitions of the stakeholders towards the hopeful end goal, and then we move on from there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I'm just afraid of time restrictions, but I think that's basically the goal. It might be like a very broad goal.
Yeah,
but I think but that's exactly what we need. I think to answer that question is exactly what we need. So I think we need to, even if we spend a little bit more time on trying to narrow this into a more prototypable thing, it's good.
Yeah, and it may come down to just, ironically, the thing that we're talking about actually working on, that it's that the critical point is when people are, it's what they're seeing on the page that describes the premium membership benefits, right? Maybe that's the key thing. It's the way that is written out, the way that is laid out. That's the key thing that makes that we didn't. I'm not trying to. I don't want to bias it to be that thing, but you know, potentially the prototype. You know, you could end up saying, "Oh, it's this critical thing. We've got to do this complex stuff with Hangouts and building this thing, and then it's difficult to get done." It could, like, the design sprints themselves can end up just be about how you present the information to the end user, and then get their reactions to that. You know, at the end of the week. So it can be very simple to prototype, but we'll see. We'll see. That also, you know, is going to affect this decision about choosing that most important, you know, moment to prototype, because maybe we won't have. We could say like, oh yes, we'd love to do a Hangout where they just come in and there's no thing saying, oh, you're going to be videoed by other people and other people you don't know can see you, and we just don't have the resources to do that. So we'll see. We lost Matt there.
I see. Cool, makes sense. Do you think all the people that are going to do the sprint are in sync about this? Everybody should try to read the book, and at least the day.
I think
it's happening. So
we've got with Matt and Michael, kind of are sort of, I think, committed. I think the other person who might be able to do the full week, but is possibly Federico. The other people who may potentially, we've got like 2 full-time interns, but I think that they may end up just sort of observing. I mean, I'd love to get them reading the book and contributing, but you know, I mean, ultimately, if it ends up just being Matt and Michael, myself doing it for the you know, the full week, that would be a shame, because it would be great to have like maybe 2 others to give different perspectives. But I think even if it can just be Matt and Michael and myself coordinating with input from the other community as experts and then testers, the 3 of us have a clear vision that going forward, and that we can then share that with the community through, you know, the output of the design sprint, and you know, that will be you know, a big achievement, I think. And then, as it says at the end of the book, it's not that it's like that and it's done. Having created those maps in the first half of the week, I mean, you can see this, like what happens on the Tuesday is you've got these lightning demos where you look at other people's things. It's got this whole process where you're like together, but you're not talking, and you're independently sketching different kinds of solutions. And then on Wednesday, you bring them together and you like put them out. We'll be doing all this in Google Docs, I assume. And there's a lot of like not so much talking about it. And what like here has a series of things like, you know, viewing the thing silently. Then they've got like speed critique, and then discussing as a group, and all these different techniques to try and avoid some chatterbox like me driving it in a particular direction, and sort of allow people to come up with their own alternative solutions that they might not have otherwise. And then so they got this final thing here where, like in the afternoon on Wednesday, you're filling out a storyboard of, you know, the stakeholder moving through the sequence and what they would see in each of that, which leads you into Thursday, where you say, right, you know, we've got this storyboard approach. This is the user experience. Let's prototype that. And it's even if it is a complex thing, it's all about faking it and making it look just real enough so that when you do the testing on the Friday, you can get realistic reactions from the users. I mean, that may be the most difficult thing. Go on, Michael or Matt.
Looks like a vacation itinerary.
Oh, really? The right.
I know. I mean, just like 10 a.m. we're gonna see the zoo, and then
yeah,
11 a.m. a light lunch, and then 1 p.m. Kabuki theater. And...
Absolutely. I think that's that there's lots of exciting activities in there. I think we could look forward to a week of fun. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Anyway, so that was, I got distracted there, and I'm going like 5 minutes. So this is the set of things from the book of what we do. We've got the days set up. So based on this, I'll come back to the extra experts in a minute. There's this idea of, given that we've chosen the region, there should be a decider, which is like the CEO of the company or the product leader or what have you. We get the recruits sprint team. They're saying max 7 people. I think 5 is great, and they say ideally with diverse skills, and then pick a facilitator who will manage time and process. So, there's this idea of this is like for corporate environments where there is a specific decider. Maybe we could decide to dispense with that. They kind of say don't change it before you've run one. They say you kind of need somebody who's got to make the final decision to break ties and just move on in order to avoid endless debate.
Well, we can probably let you do that, Sam. I mean,
thanks.
Well, we could designate it as a coin.
The coin flipping thing, yeah. I mean, then there's kind of, the way I did it with the NHS is I was the facilitator because I understood the process and could drive it through, and we had the decider was like the head of the department who actually then put his delegates, and it doesn't have to be like the person with the high power. I get the implication is that having the decider and the facilitator is giving, if that was the same person, that would be giving them too many roles. I don't know.
Well, you should be the facilitator, I guess, since you've done that.
Yeah.
And Matt should be the decider.
I don't know. You might not like what I
decide. Well, I guess, like, if both of you, why don't you both finish reading the book and see what you think about who should be in the decider role, about the way that works, or whether it's, particularly if there's only going to be 3 of us, do we need, like...
I guess if there's 3 of us, then there'll never be a tie vote anyway, right? Unless one of us abstains.
Or something. But so I think finish...
Unless you have 3 options.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing that happened, the main thing for the decider is that they end up getting, like, extra votes to go. There's like various points, there's various activities where you kind of have, like, you're choosing alternate points in the storyboard or different interface designs, and the decider gets, like, extra votes to kind of put in, and they can kind of swing. They get more dots than other people. I mean, it may be that, in the same way that we're not following the instruction to, like, do it in person, we're going to meet online, and we're going to use all of this stuff. I think the key thing is we don't decide now. Finish reading the book, and you can see what we're already mutating aspects of the Scrum. If we just come back to the extra experts, so looking at we're going for this 11 a.m. UTC to 5 p.m. UTC. Oh gosh, come back here. Oh, okay, it's not going to move as fast as I want it. And another thing to do as well is, rather than feeling that you have to read the book the whole way through, is you can start with this overview at the back, and they link very nicely from each of the individual activities into the place in the book where it describes the detail of that activity. So that's, sometimes the book is like, this is what's going on. This is the kind of key thing here at the end. And yeah, so they would have their experts at 2 p.m. after, that's sort of like 4 hours in, assuming that they've had an hour for lunch. So that would be 3 hours in. So according to our schedule, yeah, well, actually, you're right there, Matt. It's 2 p.m. UTC, which corresponds to, I'm confused, 1, 2, 3, that's 3 p.m. my time, and that's 10 a.m. your time. So,
Okay.
And I presume that JP, you might be available at. Should we book you in for this time, like instead of the AV community?
AOCO next.
Oh, for this time, like
This time next week. Will you have a Met Plus meeting?
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. Shit, yeah. I can move that to Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can, then we can. So this is like.
I'll talk with Chad and try to move it to Wednesday
From,
because I don't think we have things to talk to
Right.
about till
Yeah, that
but
would make the most sense.
I'll try.
I completely agree with that.
so I'll put in here. This would
And
be
then,
essentially JP at. I mean, it's you wouldn't necessarily come in at the ideal time, like according to that was. So for here, that would be. It's like for the 3:45 p.m. UTC, which is your time is there. It's like 12:45 a.m. Okay. So because the idea is, that we get the ideally we would be getting your input earlier, JP, and then we
do you
would
ask me to try to free? It's like 15 minutes, right? 20 minutes. I can try to free up half an hour.
Yeah. So if you could potentially be this was one of the things with the NHS Design Sprint is I ended up getting like experts available all through the whole thing. And so we kind of already done this process when we should have been having we should have had
I can free up the 10 during 10 a.m.
So this is let's explain why. This adds a layer of complexity that does not.
So I think that's all of the things to work out. Now I guess we kind of almost want like a booking sheet for experts to set like in. I guess the sensible thing is like half an hour chunks, like we could have 20 minutes chunks, and like have 3 experts, like maybe your
Why don't
friend.
you make a Google spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Right in there, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I've got to go off to supper now, but maybe Matt, could you just make a little spreadsheet or something? Just work out the time slots. For, like I don't know if any more than 3 experts makes sense necessarily.
Can't we just edit that note right there?
You can ironically you could. I can edit this. This is like me having pasted into here. You can't edit me in the way that it currently works. If you want to just like work them out and type them into the design sprint thing, that's fine too.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
Cool. All right.
Great. I need to leave, but
you
you guys can just tell me when you need me, and I'll just get time for it.
Great. All right.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
JP.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Take care.